Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. I was standing barefoot in our Palo Alto kitchen, 6 months pregnant, staring at a handwritten note like it might explode in my hands. My heart was racing, palms sweaty, baby kicking like it knew something was off. Notes were how my husband and I talked. Always had been. Written words, sign language, touches, looks, silence. Because my husband Daniel was deaf. At least that's what I believed. He stepped in close behind me, close enough that I felt his breath warm against my neck. I held the note over my shoulder so he could read it, and then, out of nowhere, I heard a voice. Clear, calm, male. Emily, we need to talk. The note slipped out of my fingers and floated to the floor like slow-motion chaos. My brain straight up shut down. I didn't scream, didn't move, didn't even breathe, because my deaf husband had just spoken. Let me rewind, because you can't understand how brutal that moment was unless you know how I got there, how my whole life quietly funneled me into that kitchen, pregnant, unemployed, and about to have my reality wrecked. I'm 68 now, old enough to admit some stories don't start where the drama hits. They start way earlier, back when you don't know you're walking into a trap. It was 1991. I was 32, single, and grinding nonstop as a junior architect in San Francisco. Tiny studio apartment. Barely any money left after rent. Long hours. Zero social life. Sundays meant one thing. My mom calling to remind me I was still unmarried. Every single week. Your sister's pregnant again. Your cousin just got engaged. Men don't wait forever, Emily. I gripped the phone, staring at the fog rolling over the bay, thinking, cool, love that for everyone else. And yeah, I'll admit it now, I was lonely, like deep bone-level lonely, tired of eating dinner alone, tired of being the third wheel at every family event, tired of feeling like I was behind in a race I never signed up for. So when my mom casually mentioned a man named Daniel Carter, I listened. Successful tech guy, good-looking. Old money meets Silicon Valley vibes. And then she lowered her voice like it was some tragic secret. He's deaf. She said it like that changed everything. Like it explained why he was still single. Like it made him safe. And here's the messed up truth. A part of me felt relief. A man who wouldn't judge me for being 32. A man who wouldn't interrupt. A man who'd have to actually listen. I told myself I was being open-minded. Kind. Patient. Turns out, I was walking straight into the biggest lie of my life. I agreed to one dinner. Just one. I had no idea that dinner would cost me my career, my trust, and almost my sanity. And I definitely had no idea that months later, the man I thought couldn't hear a thing would shatter my world with 6 words spoken out loud in our kitchen. But the real question wasn't why he spoke. It was how long he'd been able to hear me all along. Daniel Carter was nothing like the awkward, fragile guy I'd imagined. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed sharp like someone who knew money and wasn't trying to flex it. Salt and pepper hair at the temples. Calm eyes. Eyes that watched my lips carefully when I spoke. That should have been my first clue. We met at a high-end Italian spot in San Jose. The kind of place with low lighting and menus you have to pretend to understand. I'd spent 2 full weeks trying to learn basic sign language from a book I checked out of the library, practicing in my bathroom mirror like an idiot. But Daniel came prepared. He slid a small notepad across the table with a pen and smiled. Old school. Simple. Quiet. We wrote back and forth like teenagers in class. My mom says you're stubborn, he wrote. She's not wrong. I wrote back. He laughed. A silent laugh. Or at least I thought it was. The whole night felt easy. No pressure. No awkward small talk. No dude trying to impress me with his job title or asking why I wasn't married yet. When I messed up a sign, he'd gently correct me, his fingers guiding mine. Warm, patient, intimate in a way I hadn't felt in years. And that's how it started. We didn't date like normal couples. We connected. Long walks on the beach. Quiet movies with subtitles. Sitting side by side, hands intertwined. Saying everything without saying much at all. I started taking real ASL classes, after work, night classes. My co-workers thought I was insane. You're learning a whole language for a guy you barely know? He's worth it, I said, and I believe that. Daniel never rushed me, never pushed. He moved at my pace. And I mistook that silence for respect, for emotional maturity, for depth. His mother, Linda, absolutely adored me. Sunday dinners at her massive house in Los Gatos. White tablecloths, perfectly arranged plates. She watched Daniel and me sign across the table like it was some Hallmark movie. I was so afraid he'd end up alone, she'd say, eyes glossy. You have no idea what this means to me. One night, Daniel stepped outside, said he needed air. Linda leaned in close and whispered. His last girlfriend left him when he lost his hearing, said it was too much. That story hit me right in the chest. Who leaves someone over a disability? I judged that woman hard, called her selfish in my head. Shallow, weak. I promised myself I'd never be like that. 8 months in, Daniel proposed. No big speech. No kneeling in public. Just a quiet sunset at the beach. He wrote the question in the sand, in huge letters. Will you marry me? I cried like a baby. Signed yes over and over like my hands were on fire. We married 3 months later. Small ceremony. Napa Valley. Sign language interpreter. Simple vows. When I signed mine, I meant every word. I thought I'd found my forever. We moved into a beautiful house in Palo Alto. Backyard. Office space. Nursery potential. Daniel's tech company was exploding. IPO talk. Serious money. I cut back my work hours. Linda suggested it. Daniel agreed. Made sense, right? 4 months later, I got pregnant. When I showed him the test, he lifted me off the ground, spinning me around like he just won the lottery. He signed slowly, clearly, "You're going to be an incredible mom." I quit my job at 5 months pregnant. Morning sickness wrecked me. Linda was thrilled. A woman's real legacy is her family, she said, folding baby clothes with military precision. Something about that sentence stuck with me, but I ignored it because love makes you ignore stuff. Then one night, 6 months pregnant, exhausted, cooking dinner like a good little wife, I wrote Daniel a note asking what kind of wine he wanted. I held it over my shoulder. That's when he spoke. And everything I thought I knew about my life snapped in half. But the real nightmare didn't start when Daniel spoke. It started when he told me why he'd never needed to listen at all. I turned around slowly, like my body was afraid to move too fast and break reality even more. Daniel was standing there, hands relaxed at his sides, face calm, too calm. His mouth was still slightly open, like he'd been talking for years and just finally decided to stop pretending. "I'm not deaf," he said. Just like that. No build-up, no apology, no warning. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because my brain straight up refused to accept it. My ears were ringing, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. "You're joking." I whispered, or maybe I thought I whispered. "I never was," he said gently. "I can hear perfectly." My legs went weak. I grabbed the kitchen counter to keep from hitting the floor. The baby kicked hard, like it felt the panic before I did. "You're lying," I said. "This isn't funny." "I know," he said, "and I'm so sorry." Sorry. That word landed wrong. Like trying to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. "You told me you lost your hearing in a motorcycle accident," I said. "You showed me scars." "I did have an accident," he admitted. "When I was 19. Road rash. Nothing serious." My stomach dropped. "So everything?" I asked. "The accident, the deafness, the sign language, the silence." "It was a test," he said. That's when something inside me snapped. "A test." I repeated, louder this time. "You tested me?" He started talking faster, like if he said it all quickly enough, it would make sense. "After my ex left me, I was destroyed. She said I was boring, that I wasn't exciting. My mom said I needed someone patient, someone kind, someone who'd love me for me, not my money or status." I stared at him, my hands instinctively covered my belly. So you pretended to be disabled, I said slowly, to see which women were good enough for you? When you put like that, that's exactly how it is. I snapped. He tried to reach for me. I stepped back. You watch me struggle, I said. You watch me learn an entire language. You watch me quit my job. I didn't force you. I did it because I thought you needed me. I screamed. The words tore out of my chest. My voice cracked. Tears blurred my vision. I thought I was being supportive. I thought I was being a good wife. I thought I was doing the right thing. Silence. Real silence this time. Then I asked a question that had been burning a hole in my brain. Does your mother know? He hesitated, just for half a second. But that was enough. Oh my God! I breathed. She knew. She helped, he admitted quietly. Everything suddenly made sense. The tears at dinner, the gratitude, the way she talked about sacrifice, the way she pushed me to quit my career. You both manipulated me, I said. You turned my life into some sick audition. That's not fair, he said weakly. Fair! I shouted. I'm pregnant with your child. You lied to my face for almost 2 years. He flinched. You didn't lie to my face? I laughed hysterically. I was literally staring at your hands while you lied to my soul. I told him to leave. Not calmly, not politely. I told him to get the hell out of my house. He grabbed his keys and walked out, just like that. No fight, no begging. The front door slammed, and suddenly I was alone with a burning pan on the stove and the sound of my own breathing. That night broke me. My sister Rachel came over after I called her sobbing so hard she couldn't understand a word. She found me on the kitchen floor, surrounded by sign language books, ripping pages out like I could erase the last 2 years of my life. He's not deaf, I kept saying. He was never deaf. When I called my mother, she already knew. That betrayal cut even deeper. 3 women I trusted, my husband, his mother, and my own mom, had all decided I didn't deserve the truth. And as I sat there, 6 months pregnant, unemployed, and emotionally wrecked, one terrifying thought kept repeating in my head. If he lied about something this big, what else don't I actually know about the man I married? I thought the lie was over once the truth came out. But that was just the beginning of the real psychological damage. The days after Daniel left felt unreal, like I was moving through someone else's life. The house was too quiet. No scribbled notes. No hands moving in the air. Just silence that finally meant something, and it scared the hell out of me. I stopped eating. Barely slept. My body was exhausted, but my mind wouldn't shut up. Every memory replayed itself on loop, and each time it did, it looked uglier. Every smile, every moment of patience. Every time he'd listened so carefully. Was any of it real? Daniel called nonstop. Left voicemails. Long ones. Emotional ones. I didn't listen. He wrote letters. Handwritten. Apologizing. Explaining. Begging. I didn't read those either. I burned them in the fireplace like some kind of ritual, watching the words curl up and disappear. His mother showed up at the door. Please, she called out. You're carrying my grandchild. We need to talk like adults. I stood on the other side of the door, shaking with rage. You watched me give up my career. I yelled back. You let me believe your son was disabled. You tested me like I was some lab experiment. We were protecting him, she said. No, I snapped. You were controlling him, and you destroyed me in the process. She left, but the damage stayed. My sister Rachel didn't sugarcoat things. You're not okay, she said one night, sitting across from me with a cup of tea I wasn't drinking. This stress isn't good for you or the baby. I don't even know who I married. I whispered. That's when she pushed therapy. Dr. Elaine Moore, mid-50s. Calm voice. Sharp eyes. The kind of woman who'd seen every version of betrayal there is. I told her everything. When I finished, she leaned forward and said something that stunned me. That wasn't just a lie. That was a violation of consent. Finally, someone said it out loud. He turned your kindness into a weakness, she continued. You entered that relationship under false pretenses. You have every right to feel rage. But then she asked me a question I wasn't ready for. Before you knew the truth, did you love him? Yes, I said instantly. Why? I hesitated. Because he was quiet. Because he didn't interrupt. Because he made me feel safe. She nodded slowly. You fell in love with a version of him that couldn't overpower you with words. That version felt emotionally safe. That hit hard. But that doesn't excuse what he did, I said quickly. Of course not, she replied. But now the question is, what do you want? I didn't know. I was 7 months pregnant. No job. Limited savings. A marriage built on lies. Daniel came to therapy the next week. Seeing him wrecked me. He looked smaller somehow. Less polished. No confident Texio energy. Just a scared man sitting across from me, hands trembling. He started signing out of habit. Don't, I said sharply. Don't ever do that again. Dr. Moore laid down rules. Full honesty. No dodging. No leaving early. Why did you really do it? I asked. Daniel swallowed. Because I'm afraid, he said. I'm awkward. I don't know how to talk to people. Pretending to be deaf gave me an excuse not to fail socially. So you chose deception over growth, I said. Yes. They placed my daughter on my chest, warm and crying and impossibly small. 10 fingers, 10 toes, a full head of dark hair. She screamed like she was mad at the world for existing. And honestly, same, Daniel stood a few feet away, frozen. For the first time since I'd known him, he didn't look controlled or calm or clever. He looked terrified. Do you want to hold her? I asked. He nodded, unable to speak. Actually unable this time. Choked up, tears rolling down his face. When I handed her to him, I watched something shift. Not magically, not like in movies, but real, raw. He cradled her like she was made of glass. She's perfect, he whispered. She's ours, I said, and that mattered more than I wanted it to. The first weeks were brutal. Sleep deprivation, crying, diapers, hormones all over the place. I was still angry, still hurt, still not sure if I'd ever forgive him. But Daniel showed up every night, every feeding, every meltdown. He didn't ask for praise. Didn't try to win me back with words. He just did the work. Bottles, laundry, rocking her at 3 a.m. when I was too exhausted to stand. One night, I broke down. I don't trust you, I said, rocking our daughter while tears slid down my face. And I hate that I still need you. I know, he said softly. I'm not asking you to trust me yet. That honesty hit harder than any apology. We kept going to therapy. Sometimes with the baby sleeping in a carrier between us. Sometimes arguing. Sometimes sitting in silence. Progress wasn't linear. It was messy and uncomfortable. I laid out boundaries. You don't control the timeline. You don't control forgiveness. You don't control me. I understand, he said. And for once, he actually meant it. His mother tried to reinsert herself. Calls, cards, gifts for the baby. I shut it down. If you want to be in her life, I told her later, you don't get to manipulate me anymore. Ever. That didn't sit well with her. But I didn't care. I wasn't the desperate woman she thought she could mold anymore. Slowly, painfully, something new started forming between Daniel and me. Not romance. Not trust. Respect. I went back to work part-time when the baby was 6 months old. Daniel supported it without hesitation. No suggestions. No pressure. Just support. One night, while folding laundry in the living room, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't angry all the time anymore. And that scared me more than the anger ever did, because anger had protected me. Letting it go meant risking everything again. I looked at Daniel, sitting on the floor playing with our daughter, and wondered, was I healing, or was I just getting used to the pain? I thought surviving betrayal was the hard part, but choosing whether to stay was even harder. Choosing to stay wasn't some dramatic moment. There was no big speech. No tear-filled confession that magically fixed everything. It was a series of quiet choices, day after day. Some days I chose distance. Some days I chose conversation. Some days I chose nothing at all. Daniel never pushed. That was the biggest change. No manipulation, no strategy, no test, just accountability, therapy, and showing up even when I was cold, even when I barely looked at him. A year passed. Then, too, our daughter grew from a crying newborn into a walking, talking little human who thought the world existed purely for her entertainment. And somehow, in the middle of diaper bags and preschool schedules, we found something new. Not the relationship we had before. That one was dead. This one was built on truth. Ugly truth, but real. Daniel did his own therapy. Dug into why lying felt safe in honesty. Why silence felt easier than vulnerability. And for the first time, he really talked, about fear, insecurity, and how hiding behind a fake disability let him avoid being rejected for who he actually was. It didn't excuse what he did, but it explained it. An explanation was the beginning of closure. 3 years later, we had another child, a son. I didn't do it to fix anything. I did it because by then, I trusted my own judgment again. That mattered more than trusting him. We renewed our vows on our 10-year anniversary. No audience, no interpreter, just us and our kids in a small backyard ceremony. I promise to never lie again, Daniel said, even when the truth makes me look weak. I promise to speak up, I said, even when it would be easier to stay silent. We're older now, slower, wiser, still imperfect. Some mornings I still remember the kitchen, the note, the moment my world cracked open. That memory never fully goes away. But neither do the memories that came after. Our daughter's first steps, our son's laugh, late-night talks where nothing was hidden. Was it worth it? Honestly? Some days, yes. Some days, no. But it's my life, the one I chose, the one I keep choosing. And maybe that's the real lesson. Love isn't about perfection. It's about what you do after the lie is exposed.